This is the story of how we went from this to this, our brand new driveway. Hello and welcome back to Adventurous Way. I'm Matt and we're back down at the build site here again today. Today is an action-packed day, started with hopefully an action-packed week, and I'm here on my own. So Diana today started her 3-week design and build course at Yes Tomorrow. She's been doing online classes for about a month and a half now, and today is the first of her in-person kind of training and things that she's off to. So I dropped her off at that this morning. Meanwhile this week, our driveway construction has started. So in the background, you might just be able to see the excavator that's here. We've got a bulldozer, I think, coming on later on today, and this is the start of building our 1,000-foot driveway all the way from the road right up to the house site. It's going to be very exciting. Let's get started. Let me just explain though what we're actually trying to achieve here. So we are locating the house about 1,000 feet back from the road. We've chosen that site for a number of reasons. There's a pond that imposes some restrictions on where we can put the house. Plus we've just found a really, really nice location for the house up there where it'll have some amazing views and it'll work really, really well for what we have in mind. In order to do that, we need to have a driveway that's going to reach up there. There is a logging trail that does extend from the road back there. Unfortunately, that logging trail at the front is really too steep in places. It's not a very good angle as it joins the road, and it cuts very narrowly through some bedrock. All reasons for us deciding to locate the new driveway in a slightly different location. It'll continue back about 400 feet from the road where it will join the logging trail. The whole area from the bottom up to the logging trail and beyond is going to all be improved as part of this process, leaving us with a driveway that's suitable for use by cars and delivery trucks and everything else. So what we're trying to do this week as we put the driveway in is get it as far as having the sub base installed. We're not trying to put a top layer on at this point, and the reason for that is because for the next year or two we're going to have construction trucks and all sorts of heavy machinery moving up and down here. We don't need it to be nice and smooth for cars for the next year or two. We've got the truck, we've got the tractor, so as long as it's okay for some deliveries and things, that's smooth enough for us. So what the team this week is trying to do is to really clear the driveway, to excavate down until they find solid rock, or at least a deep enough base that they can put down some solid rock. They're planning a sub base mainly of like 4-5 inch rocks that are going to go down, a pretty aggressive sub base, and then obviously some layers on top of that to make it a smoother driveway for us to be driving on in the next year or two. We've also asked them, somewhat unusually, to not try and clean up after themselves as they're felling trees. So you may remember from the last few videos, we have really tried to like clear the route, like blaze the trail through if you like, really so that they can get in here as fast as possible with their machines and really get to work on the big stuff and not get bogged down by the smaller stuff. There's still though some trees that will need to come down. We haven't taken down everything that will make it wide enough for the actual road. And so what we've said to them is as they take down those trees, as they pull up those stumps, just push them to one side. As long as we can get there with the tractor, we're going to come through afterwards and tidy that stuff up. We don't really need them doing stuff that we can do ourselves. We really want to do as much of this as we can. As you can see from the size of the machinery they've brought along, this is something that is best left to the professionals in our mind, and so we're letting them do the big stuff. But if you're wondering as they go why they're not trying to clean up everything, it's because we've explicitly said, don't worry about that. Just move out of the way what you need to move out of the way, and then we can come through later with a tractor, with a chipper, whatever, and clear it all up. One of the interesting things that we run into, which we sort of thought was going to happen, or was a good possibility of, is they ran into some bedrock. In general, finding bedrock when you're building a driveway isn't a big problem, because it's a solid base on which you can then appropriately layer things up and build a good road surface on there. The problem is that our road surface needs to be graded, so that the gradient at the moment is kind of up and down a little bit, and we want to smooth that out. And unfortunately, they hit bedrock in one of the areas that needs knocking down. So we've been battling with that, seeing what we can do. They've also hit some bedrock right at the front where we need a culvert to get the water flow across the driveway at the front. So we've been in contact with the highway officials this morning, having a chat with them about what the options are, and we've got a couple of ideas that we're going to try later on today and see if they help the situation. For now though, the team is just continuing to clear the road through. We're trying to in particular get all the trees out of the way, because that way they can bring the big dozer. They've got a Cat D6 they're going to bring in that's really going to help to smooth out this surface. And once they've got the dozer on site, then they can start getting the rocks in to really start building up that surface. And it'll be like a trail of ants kind of coming up the driveway, just one vehicle after the other, just doing their little bit to prepare it for the one behind. But in terms of moving the logs and the brush and things like that, we're going to do that. The only exception to that is some of the really big logs. We felled a pine earlier that was a 30-inch diameter pine. I did think the bottom was going to be pretty rotten, but actually when we cut the stump off, it looks fantastic inside. So we've cut a really nice 16-foot log, 17 foot we cut it to, log off the bottom that was about 30-inch diameter at the fat end. I haven't measured the other end yet, but it's a good size log. It's also too heavy for us to carry on our tractor, I imagine. So they're going to move that one, and probably a couple of others that are also quite large. They'll move those up to the top for us. We'll worry about how we get those onto a sawmill later. That's going to be a fun little challenge for us. It's currently 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so they've been here about 5 hours now, and it's incredible how much progress has been made already. I'm trying to kind of stay out of the way while at the same time help out where I can. I've been bucking and limbing some trees that have been in their way, but really I'm just trying to stay out of the way of the big machines. I don't want to be hovering, but also for my own safety. I'm making sure I'm wearing high-vis clothing. I've got the chainsaw chaps and my helmet on so they can see me at all times and I don't get in the way and I don't get hurt and I don't slow them down. So let's get back to it. It's the morning of day 2, just before 10 AM, and as you can see, they're already right back at it, and they've made a lot of progress this morning. As you can probably hear, they've also got a rock hammer this morning on the skid steer. So they are trying to get through some of that bedrock that we found yesterday. They actually made really good progress with just the excavator, managing to kind of dig through some of it. But I guess they wanted to bring in the rock hammer to probably make a bit quicker process, and probably also just to reduce the wear on the excavator, particularly the pins and the bushings and things. It's pretty hard on those. They've also done some great work clearing some of the area behind me. This is where we felled a couple of trees yesterday, or pushed some trees down into. They've been through here and cleared up a lot of this already. So I'm gonna get stuck in where I can, help to move things out of the way. I'll probably get the tractor as well and start moving some stuff, some of the logs for milling up to the top. I'm wearing my bright orange chainsaw chaps. I'll have my helmet on as well today. As much as anything, just so they can see me. Obviously, they know where they are. They're used to working as a crew, but they're not used to working with me here as well. So I'm working with them to make sure they know where I am, and then wearing the high-vis clothing as well, just to help me stay safe around their machines. So let's get to work. It's the end of day 2, and the guys have just left the build site today. They have been at it all day from about 7 o'clock this morning, making really good progress. So there's this giant pile of rocks that you can see behind me. Some of these are absolutely huge. They're probably like 4 or 5 feet long, and they weigh an absolute ton. Excavator moving them around like they don't even exist. These things all came out of the front section here. So we hit bedrock really quickly, this kind of ledge stuff. That was almost on the surface in places. Ordinarily, bedrock under the driveway wouldn't be a big problem. However, down at the front is a bit more of an issue because we had to grade it a little bit flatter than it was. So it was sloping uphill from the road, and that's not good from a kind of drainage perspective. Also, just from a safety perspective, if we're driving down there and it's icy or snowy, we don't want to be sliding out onto the road. So we did want that to be a nice flat surface down at the bottom, which meant a lot of digging and hammering through that bedrock. They were able to do it. They made good progress between the excavator and the hammer on the skid steer. Made some great progress today digging through that, and have really cleared the section. The good thing is, although we've got this giant pile now of rocks, this will actually be used as fill for some other areas where we need to build the level up to kind of level out the slope and ease the grade a little better. Otherwise, they've made incredible progress. Check this out behind me. You can see all the way up there. They've been up there with the excavator today, clearing more trees, finding the right path through. They've made it up to the logging road now, and so tomorrow they'll continue up there with the excavator. They've been felling trees with a chainsaw and with the excavator, and that will kind of continue. Hopefully in a day or two, once all the trees are out of the way, they'll be able to bring in the dozer. They've got a big, like I say, Cat D6 they're planning to bring down, and that will be really clearing a lot of the dirt off the top, trying to dig down at least a foot or so, probably more to get the fill in there, the stones and things that will make sure it's nice and solid, and this driveway isn't just going to wash away. So that's the plan. Let me take you for a little tour and see what we've got. So here's this rocky front section with all the bedrock down here that they had to dig through. They've then piled a load of it up here as well. This is kind of like a landing area, I guess, now. This is where we'd originally cleared. We had some invasive species in here anyway that had to come out. So they've kind of cleared this section, and you can see the height difference between, this is kind of the level it was before, and this is what they've dug it down to down here. So really made a big difference there. I've been running the tractor today, taking some of the logs up to the top where we can mill them later. These are the logs from the big white pine they pushed down. So this was the pine that at the fat end of one of these logs, kind of the diameter of the tree was 30 inches. So real big pine tree there. So we're going to get these logs up to the top, but they are too big for the tractor to take up there. So they're going to take those up with the excavator. We will worry later how we get those onto the mill, given they're too heavy for the tractor, or some of these are at least too heavy for the tractor. We've also kept them longer because they're nice and straight for the most part, so we've kept these at 16, or cut just over 16 to either 16.5 or 17 feet. The idea being we can mill 16-foot boards out of these and some really nice white pine. There's also some more trees as well over here that I'll clear later. Again, we've asked them not to spend too much time clearing those things up, just move them out of the way, and then we can come back later and do that. But some more usable lumber in there, I'm sure. And then the driveway continues. You can see how wet it is in this area here at the bottom. This is all water that's just collecting here. And this is why having that good base is going to be so important, to dig out a lot of this topsoil, get a really nice strong rock base with some big rocks, some of the stuff that's over there, get that down here, and that will really help the drainage, but also help the strength and the stability of the driveway as well. They then come up here, so they haven't done too much here, kind of excavating wise, a little bit here and there. Really, they've just been clearing out the trees. So we had felled kind of the trees in the middle, but there's a good number more they took out. And then obviously there's all the stumps that we didn't take out, so they've pulled those out with the excavator. They had no problems at all pulling those stumps out with the excavator, which was good. I didn't really have a concept for how hard that was going to be for them, and the answer is not hard at all. So that was good to see. And then this bit here is a little bit steeper, so this is something that we're hoping that the dozer, when it comes in, can really start to flatten out a little bit, just so that we haven't got that flat section for quite so long at the bottom and then steep, and instead turn it into a bit of a steadier grade, I guess, as it climbs up. This is the area where our second slash pile was, and so you can see the road now just plows straight through the middle of that. And then off to the side here, this is the logging trail that comes down. So you can see the difference between the size of the logging trail and the size of the driveway over there. And then the driveway will continue up that way. And this is basically how far they've made it so far. I think, particularly given the bedrock they hit at the bottom, I'm really happy with this progress. I think it's looking great. So looking forward to seeing how much they do tomorrow. Maybe they'll make it all the way to the top with the excavator, getting all the trees out of the way, get all that cleared, which if they can would be fantastic, because then the dozer can come in, start moving the earth, and then we can actually get the fill going. So good progress. It's day 3 today, about lunchtime, and today the team has been working on just kind of flattening this area at the front a bit more and starting to bring some gravel in, some crushed rock that's part of the base down here. They've been able to use a lot of the rock that they had to hammer out and dig out as fill already, but they're saving a nice big pile of it over here to go further up the driveway. Meanwhile, I've been working up the top, starting to fell some trees to get those out of the way for them, and they've just gone off to get the dozer. So when that comes in, that's when they're going to really start moving some earth, and I'm really excited to see this. It's really hard for me to visualize what this is going to be like and how it's actually going to move the earth they're trying to do. So I'm really excited to see how this works and see our driveway start to come alive. This is a Caterpillar D6. This thing is massive. I can't remember how much it weighs. It's insane. This thing is massive. It's like, I don't know, 12 foot high or something. It's crazy. And so that'll be used to kind of clear all of this material out of the way, and then spread the the fill, and then the crushed rock they're going to start bringing with dump trucks tomorrow. Meanwhile, further up here, been clearing some more trees. My Dewalt electric chainsaw gave up today. It's same issue we've had before with it. There's a screw in the main kind of, I guess, drive shaft that is just not strong enough for the application, and last time it started rattling and then completely stripped out. This time it started rattling again and I could tell it was about to go. So unfortunately it's a reverse threaded screw, so it's not something that you can easily just go and buy a new one of. You got to kind of get it from Dewalt, or when this happened last time we said if it happens again it's a data point that this is the wrong tool for the job, which we knew we were stretching it, but we really liked the advantages of the electric cordless chainsaw. But it was not suitable, so I went out today and bought a new chainsaw. Got a Husky 550 XP Gen 2, which is insane. It's a lot more powerful as I knew obviously it would be. And yeah, I've just been flying through stuff today. So felling a load of trees here, it's a bit of a mess, but the excavator will have this cleaned up in no time. And yeah, the driveway will continue up there. We didn't make too much progress yesterday. There was just one person on site just for a few hours, making some good progress I guess with the excavator just at the front. But today things are really starting to move. It is not even 10 AM this morning. They've been here I think a few hours already, and yeah, the driveway's really picking up. They've got the skid steer, they've got the big dozer, and they've got the excavator all working at different stages up here. The plan really is to start getting this sub base down so that the dump trucks can get in and move some of the fill up higher up, while the dozer is trying to excavate some of the dirt. And this thing is a beast. 24 tons, some 9-litre diesel engine in there. This thing has got some power. So the goal here is to use all of this rock and this crushed rock they're bringing in and spread that up here. Meanwhile the excavator is bringing dirt down, and the idea is to kind of fill this layer here up a little bit so that because it's quite steep going up there, so if we can raise the bottom up a little bit we can just steady out that grade so it's not quite as steep. So the skid steer is pushing this material and creating a fairly thick layer here just to give us a nice steady gradient then, and then it'll kind of just even that out a little bit, and we'll do the same further up as well. So as you can see, it heads downhill there, and then this is quite steep, this section, and then it flattens out. This is actually a low spot before, and then it climbed back up again. So what they're going to do is fill this area in here with crushed rock and some of the fill from the bottom, I think, and just give it a smooth grade all the way across so it doesn't go down and then back up again. So I'm here with Colby Hop of Hilltop Construction, and Colby and his team have been the ones who have worked on this awesome driveway for the past 6 days, and we're just about complete.
Yeah, it's been a super great project, and very fortunate the weather's held out right up until today.
Didn't look like it was going to, right?
No.
I mean, like last Monday when we started was the day that the hurricane was like moving through just outside of this area, and yeah, we were forecast torrential rain, like 2 inches of rain or something, and I think we got like a half hour of rain in the afternoon. Yeah, like I don't know how we lucked out on that, but yeah, I showed Diana the driveway. She's on this Yes Tomorrow course. I showed her this at the weekend, and she was like, wow, she absolutely loved it. We think this is an awesome driveway. But maybe just talk me through like how you guys have found it. Like, what's it been like as a project to work on?
Honestly, this was a very nice project for us to work on. I had the time to walk the property prior to building anything, and we came up and agreed with a new route for the road. And
yeah, the first route was getting pretty wet, wasn't it, over there? We found this better route.
Yeah, and this really turned out to work out super well. The biggest challenge we had on this was definitely the bedrock, but yeah, we've had bedrock all summer on every job. It looked
like it was going to be a fairly tricky job when we first started, because like the first thing we hit, like what, a few feet back from the road, was just bedrock, what, inches below the surface.
Yeah. So, but
how did you deal with that?
Well, we started out with just absolutely abusing the equipment and pulling as hard as we could, and we were fortunate enough. We got some good seamy rock, and it just seemed to peel apart really nicely. So. And, you know, it landed with all this great material.
Yeah, and all of that rock that you pulled out, we used as fill further up.
Yeah, it worked out excellent because we had a big hole to fill.
Yeah, so talk me through that then. So why did we end up having so much fill needed up there? What was the thing?
Well, it's all about, you know, making it a nice, even grade, nice and gradual, right? I mean, especially in Vermont, the winters up here, it can be tough, you know? So when you're plowing, even in a plow truck, you want to make it as easy as possible for the next guy. Yeah, you know. So
we're so happy that I drove the driveway for the first time about 10 minutes ago, all the way up and down, and it's just so nice. It's just so smooth, and even honestly, so we've just ended with the sub base here, right? So for anyone looking at this going like, that's not a finished driveway, you're absolutely spot on. It's not. Right. And that's something that we specifically requested because for the next year or two, we're going to have construction equipment and delivery trucks and concrete trucks and all these things coming up and down. Talk me through the material that we've used here.
So this material is something that we process ourselves. It's we screen all of our gravel, and we'll screen it all down to 3" minus, and then anything that is bigger than 3 inches goes into a separate pile. So at that point, we collect a massive mountain of rocks, and then we throw them through a crusher. And it actually pretty much makes its own gravel because of the amount of abuse it takes as it goes through the crusher. It just makes its own fines and dust, and it really has every size possible of aggregate mixed in at that point. And it just packs like iron. And it really is the best thing to make a good, solid bottom for a road.
This certainly feels like a pretty durable road. I'm not expecting this to start washing away anytime soon.
No, you're not going to have any trouble here. You know, we've been really fortunate. We got just enough bedrock out of the way that we could still put enough sub base down without having any issues of, you know, having to climb up over mountains or anything. I was really pleased with the way everything went. So.
And then some of the bedrock you pulled out the front, I saw some big pieces coming out there, like 3-4 foot pieces. Yeah. And they've gone straight into the bottom up there, haven't they? So we've got like a super aggressive like bottom layer.
Yeah, it's really stout. And thank God for the big D6. You know, we had a D6 up here for a week, and
for people who don't know what a D6 is, what's that?
It's just a massive bulldozer. I think it's like the blade's as tall as Matt. So
it's huge.
Yeah, it's
awesome. Weighs, I think I was looking up online. It's like 24 tons or something. It's just absolutely massive, this thing. Yeah. And I got a few shots of you like driving up and hitting like a stone or like a big boulder of bedrock and just lifting it clean out of the earth and tumbling it down the hill.
Yeah, they're pretty much, it seems like they're unstoppable at times.
It's pretty brutal. And then what other equipment did you use for this job?
We had a John Deere 160, which is
the big excavator.
Yeah, the big excavator, which it's not our biggest one, but that one is probably our favorite.
That was cool watching that. Like, I remember when we first spoke, we're like, should we fell some of the trees for you? And then like, your excavating can take down the smaller ones. And you're like, we got it. We're going to be cool.
Yeah.
And then watching that thing push down a 30-inch diameter pine without breaking a sweat was pretty incredible. Yeah,
it really makes you appreciate the power of hydraulics.
It was insane. It was so cool. I totally want one of those. But...
yeah. I think every guy should have one. Any rate, so aside from that, what else we had? We had a Bobcat up here, T650.
The skid steer.
Yeah, the skid steer for, you know, some final grading and clean up and transporting materials and stuff.
That thing's awesome. It was just like flying around all over the place.
Yeah,
and
it's really versatile. It's very handy.
And fast.
And very fast, yeah, you know. And then it fits in small spaces. Yeah.
Yep.
And then compaction, you know, we had a vibratory roller, so that is key. I mean, whenever you build a road, you gotta have compaction. Yeah.
And all those kind of, oh, and I guess I should mention the dump trucks.
Oh, God,
what are they, 16-ton or something dump trucks?
God, I don't even know what
they're big.
Yeah.
The big ones.
40,000 pounds, so
yeah, we had, I mean, how many of those do we have? Dozens of loads of stuff coming in through three of those?
I think we had like somewhere around 40, 50 loads.
Wow. Plus using them to take the fill material from the front here.
Hauling it up to the top. Once we got the road established, that was really nice. We could actually start moving everything up to the fill point where we had the ravine to cross.
Yes.
You know?
That was pretty cool to watch. And those things are monsters as well. But all of these things are exactly why we didn't try and take this on ourselves. So as we've said before in some of the videos, we are trying to do as much of this build as we possibly can. It took us weeks to clear a pathetic 8-foot wide little trail through the trees just so they could get their machines in. And within the space of about a couple of hours, that had already been plowed right through and gone. And looking at what's been done over the past 6 days, it's really just shown us we were right to not try and do this ourselves. Could we have rented some equipment like an excavator and a compactor and things? Sure. And we wouldn't have known how to use them. We would have been so much slower. Watching you and your team with the excavator just so like agile with it and things was super cool. Yeah. Yeah, you guys have done not only a better job than we ever could have done ourselves, but just the speed with which you did it has just been incredible.
Well, we really appreciate that. Thank you.
So yeah,
but it's been a fantastic project, and working with you guys has been excellent. So thank you very much.
No, we've really enjoyed it, and we are absolutely over the moon with our new driveway. Or maybe we should stop calling it a driveway. It's basically a road.
Yeah,
it's.
I think it's nicer than the town road, like you said earlier.
Yeah, we are so pleased with it. We really hope it's going to be a really durable road, and we think it will be. And this is even, like I say, with just the sub base. We've still got a load of clearing up to do. So up on the sides of the driveway, the road, we've got a load of fallen trees and slash that normally your guys would have dealt with.
Yeah.
We specifically asked them not to this time. That's something that I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks or probably more going up there with the tractor, pulling out the logs that we can use for milling, some others that we'll use for firewood, and then the rest we'll get the chipper back and we'll chip those down. But we are absolutely over the moon with this road. It is, I think, a really great start, and it's cool to see. This is the first time I feel that we've turned this from like a forest where we've sort of like been able to make some progress on it into what will become our dream home. So thank you to you and your team for kicking us off on this project. We are really excited.
Well, it's our pleasure, our pleasure.
So aside from a little bit of cleaning up, this driveway is pretty much complete. Let's take you on a tour. If you remember, this front section was where the level was much higher and they had to eat through a lot of bedrock. You can see the level that it originally was over here and how much they had to drop it down just to even out that grade from the road, so we had a nice smooth departure as we turn into our driveway. Coming up through here, this is the area that Diana and I cleared, and this has now been covered with a really solid sub-base material. Again, this is not the final driveway top surface. This is just the sub base, and that's going to be good for us for the next year or two during construction. There's still a load of stuff at the side. Some larger kind of trunks and logs and things, as well as some slash that will give me lots of cleanup to do over the next few weeks, I imagine. For scale, here's the truck. You can see it sitting here in the middle of the driveway here. And as you can see, a really nice, smooth grade as we move up here. If I look back down here, this is one of my favourite comparisons. Over here on the right, you can see the logging trail. This is what we used to have. And over here on the left, our new driveway. Just a bit of a difference. As we move up here, this is where the logging trail used to actually go downhill and then back up again. And you get a sense for that when you look over here. And you see just how thick this surface is. There's probably 6 feet or more of fill there. But you can see they've used a load of the rock that they pulled out from the bottom. Use that as the bottom layer under here. So there's some really big stuff. There's like 3-4 foot chunks of rock under there. The top surface though, much smoother. That's still pretty coarse rocks. We're probably talking 3-4 inch rocks. But again, for the sub base, that's a really good surface. Really happy with this. What we're going to do is, as we have a load more like dirt and stuff that we need to move, we're going to keep adding it along this side just to build this out even wider. Seed it with some grass, some mulch, and that'll help to stabilize this whole area so it doesn't start to erode. Again, you can see just how thick this layer is. That must be about 7 feet deep. It's a really deep fill. But the result is a nice smooth grade as you come up here. It's still a climb. We're still climbing 100 or so feet from the road up to the house site at the top. But there's nothing we can do about that. That's just physics. We can't change the fact that our house site is 100 feet higher than the road. But what we can do is create the smoothest possible gradient to transition from the road up to the house site. And that's really important, especially when you think of things like ploughing or bringing our trailer up here. If I look back down from here, you can see that nice smooth gradient going down. No longer does it kind of dip down and then come up again. And then up here at the top, you can see they've put a smoother fill in here. So this is, in here is the area that we cleared before. You can see that's been consumed by some giant trees they felled. These are the white pines that they felled down at the bottom. I tried to move these with the tractor, they were too heavy. So they brought these up with the skid steer, the Bobcat. Don't quite know how I'm going to lift those onto the mill yet. We'll have to figure something out with pulleys or a winch or something. Over here, this nice flat area, we are hoping to put a shipping container in here. I know that's a bit of a change based on what we said a few videos ago, but the hope is that this nice flat section here, it's about 60 or 70 feet long, so we can put a shipping container in there. And there you go, you can see the area that we cleared in there. I've started stacking some of the logs on these 2 rails to keep them up off the ground, help to keep them from going mouldy, and they can sit there and begin drying a little bit before I get the mill and can start milling them. And through there, you can maybe just get an inkling of the views that we're aiming at. This is what we're hoping once we've cleared some more trees. That'll kind of be the view between the trees, looking out from our house over at that area. So there you have it. This is our new driveway. We are absolutely delighted with this, so happy with it. It's come out so nicely. This thing is absolutely solid, so well built. We're really happy with the quality of the work they've all done, and honestly how fast they've been able to do it. It's just been incredible to watch them. Still a load of clearing up and lots more to do here, but that is one big project complete. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video, watching us build our brand new driveway to our dream home here in Vermont. So if you have enjoyed it, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.